slides.
Yep, I can see.
Okay.
Your slide is good. And I can see you.
And are you wanting to record this? People have been requesting that for me
Yes,
recently.
I am recording it, and I'll share it with the group after.
Ooh. Got a lot of people. Full lobby. One of the benefits of these virtual presentations.
Yeah, we had about 155 plus invites.
Awesome.
All right, so I'm going to give it probably about 2 more minutes or so, and then we'll get started.
Amy, are you over at your new Cox gym?
I am. I'm on the main Cox campus, so went from CAI to CEI now.
Very cool.
Yes. And thank you guys for sharing with other people. I know a couple of you guys forwarded it to some of your other coworkers and colleagues, so thanks for doing that. And let's see. Give it 1 more minute, and then we're going to get started. So like I said, if you know of some people that would like to see this presentation later, we are recording it, so there will be a link that I'll share with you guys. And what we do is we push it out to we export it to another. We put it on a URL so that we can see it cross divisions. I know that's usually an issue that we have sometimes with Teams and being able to see the recordings. So don't worry about that. We'll share that with you guys in a reply to everyone who RSVP to this, and then you can also share that link to your colleagues and coworkers who may have missed it. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get us started. I'm going to turn it over to Alyssa Palladino, our registered dietitian. And I'm going to go ahead and mute myself and keep admitting people. So take it away.
Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in and sharing part of your afternoon with me. Like Amy said, my name is Alyssa. I'm a registered dietitian. I'm based here in Atlanta, and I work with the management company that runs the fitness centers at all the Cox locations and several other corporate fitness centers around Atlanta. And like Amy said, I do group education and lunch and learns and presentations, and I also do one-on-one counseling. And I guess I do need to say, now that there are people that are tuned in from all over the country, I can do virtual consultations on nutrition, but I'm only licensed as a licensed in Georgia. So if you are in a state that also has licensure, I may not actually be able to do a one-on-one with you. So just kind of, I've had that come up a couple times now that we've shifted to this virtual world. So I just kind of wanted to put that out there. All right. So hopefully you'll be able to gain a lot of
Sorry, Alyssa.
Alyssa, you're muted.
You're muted. I accidentally muted you. You'll unmute. Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no. What did you guys last hear?
About licensure for different states, and then it kind of cut off.
Oh, no. Okay. Well, I guess I basically wanted to say that if you're in Atlanta and after today's presentation you're interested in one-on-one counseling, we could probably get that set up quite easily. And if you're in another state and you're interested in one-on-one counseling, that might not actually be feasible. So it's kind of a state-by-state basis. But I'm excited to be here today presenting with you, and I'll be back next Tuesday with another great topic. So without further ado, We'll dive in to today's presentation, which is called Busy and Balanced, Navigating Nutrition in a World of Extremes. And I hope this will be kind of relevant to all of you who can probably relate to feeling very busy and maybe having a little bit of confusion navigating all the different nutrition information that is available, and maybe are ready to consider a more balanced approach. Y'all can still hear me and see me?
Yep, you're good.
Okay. I can't see any of you, so what I'm going to do is when there's kind of a natural breaking point in each of the sections, I'll pause and I'll see if there's any questions. As you can see from today's agenda, it's pretty ambitious as far as what I'm hoping to cover. So I feel like if I stop and take questions along the way, we'll have a better chance of not running out of time. But here's what we're going to try to tackle today. We'll address some common nutrition challenges. We will go over the benefits of balance and what a balanced plate looks like. I'll share some healthy meal hacks for busy people. Encourage you to rethink your meal prep and give you some ideas for that. Share some tools and resources, as well as how to make balanced choices when you are on the go. And then sign off with some takeaway tips. Okay. Some common nutrition challenges. These are issues for many of us in the best of times. And for many of us, COVID has added new stressors in so many different areas of our life, including around our eating choices. But a lot of times people say that when it comes to healthy eating or nutrition, that one of the biggest barriers is a lack of time needed to plan their meals, shop for the meals, cook their meals, clean up their meals. We are, most of us, juggling many different responsibilities and different priorities. So healthy eating might be one of them. But, then we also have work, and maybe we're trying to fit in our work hours in between homeschooling our kids, or, lots of other obligations we have. We might be taking care of a family, a spouse, older parents. We might be also trying to fit in exercise, getting enough sleep, and just like adulting tasks, like taking care of our car and cleaning our house and, all the paying bills and all the things that kind of come up. So lack of time is certainly a barrier that we want to acknowledge. And again, we're a year in COVID now, but, many of us are still experience a lot of additional stressors that, add stress to stress, basically. And then there's also a lot of confusion about what is actually healthy to eat. I hear this all the time. And, if you're like any of the groups I typically work with, the clients that I see, you're getting exposed to so much different, often competing information around nutrition. It can be really hard to sort out fact from fiction. So what's the best diet? What's the best way to eat? And I put the word diet here. Technically, really, that word just refers to the foods we consume on a regular basis, our diets, our patterns of food intake. But also acknowledging the way most people think of that term or use that term is a set of connotate a set of food rules, and typically designed to achieve a particular goal, such as losing weight or managing a health condition, right? Maybe you're on a diet to lower your blood pressure, your cholesterol. But dieting as we know it is a multi-billion-dollar industry. So it's always important to keep that in mind when you are hearing about different, dietary practices and different diets being recommended. It's also become very normal for people to be on a diet or be trying to follow a set of food rules. And I think, if you feel that allure, if you feel that, oh yeah, it's actually kind of easier just to have a set of rules, know which foods are on, off, that's easier than trying to strike a balance. You're not alone. A lot of people feel that way. But which rules do you follow, right? A lot of, the common popular diets right now contradict each other. Just take, for an example, like keto, which is so popular right now, which is super high fat. And then like our plant-based vegan diets, on the other hand, which is, going to be, pretty high in carbs because it's a lot of plants. Those two diets are kind of opposite, right? But you would get people on both camps really, strongly suggesting that way is the best. I would argue that any diet really isn't designed to be followed long term. And the more restrictive, the more extreme the diet, the more that's the case. So a lot of people will try a diet, try following a set of rules, and then inevitably fall off because it doesn't fit their lives. It's inherently not something they can sustain. And then they kind of yo-yo on and off different diets for years, really, and kind of get stuck in that cycle. And if that's your experience, just know you are not alone. That's very common, but maybe now you're kind of in a position where you're looking for a different way. So I really always encourage everyone to think long term. And before you embrace a new diet, especially one that's very restrictive, ask yourself, can you see yourself eating this way for the rest of your life? Seriously. Because if the answer is no, I would say don't start that diet. Short-term diet, short-term results, and that's really whatever results you are looking for, whether that's losing weight or whether that's just, improved health, improved quality of life. You're only going to experience those benefits as long as you can, follow that way of eating. So really the key is sustainability. Okay, so let's rethink this idea of, okay, we need to be on a diet, we need to be following a set of food rules. Instead, embrace this concept of balance and this concept that all foods really can and should fit into a healthy, enjoyable, and, like I mentioned, sustainability is the kind of crux here of a sustainable eating pattern. And of course, if you have a food allergy, if you have some kind of health condition where you have to restrict a certain food or nutrient, of course that's valid. But otherwise, I would say the more variety, the better. And as far as essential nutrients, our bodies actually need all three macronutrients, so carbs, protein, and fat, in order to function and thrive, and we need them in a balance. And we need micronutrients, right? So we need vitamins and minerals, which we get, the best way to get them are from eating a balanced, varied diet rich in colorful fruits and vegetables, and including foods that are sources of all three macros. The more variety, the more balance, the more likely we're going to be able to get our micronutrients from our food. So let's think about this concept of balance instead of a rigid or extreme diet. And I actually use the term balance. It kind of has two meanings or applications when it comes to nutrition. And so I kind of wanted to clarify what I mean by that before diving into the rest of the presentation. So the one way that I think about balance in terms of nutrition is finding a balance between viewing food as fuel and recognizing that food is also a source of pleasure, and a kind of integral part of our social lives, our cultural lives, right? So yes, food is fuel. Yes, it has the power to optimize our health, optimize our performance. But if we only try to view it that way, we're going to hit a wall, because what about the fact that, we also want to, eat ice cream with our kids, and that's, a fun celebration, right? We don't want to deny that role that food plays in our lives. So a balanced approach means that no foods are off limits. And when you have that way of thinking about it, you can enjoy eating at restaurants. You can eat with your family. You can attend a dinner party, and you don't have to stress about, oh, is there going to be a food available that's on my diet? Do I have to cook a separate meal for myself and my family? Do I have to bring my own Tupperware to a dinner party, right? And when you give yourself permission to enjoy all foods in moderation, of course, and of course, unless you're allergic to them, you take those foods off the pedestal, right? You minimize that like Last Supper mentality, which can then minimize binge eating, and it can minimize that need to like, oh, I blew my diet, I need to start over tomorrow. Never a good feeling. So that's one sense of balance. The other sense is really just a nutritional balance. So eating meals, eating snacks that combine all three macronutrients. So they have carbs, protein, and fat. And when we eat that, and we eat in that balanced way throughout the day, we're going to have more steady blood sugar levels. We're going to be more focused and more energized, and we're going to have our hunger levels be better managed than if we're skipping out on one nutrient or another. And again, like what I talked about with the micronutrients, when we're eating this balance of macros, we're getting all the micronutrients that we need to thrive. So we're getting enough fiber, we're getting enough protein, we're getting all the antioxidants we need, and other key vitamins and minerals. So just threw a couple out here, because I'll probably refer to these words throughout. But dietary fiber, guys, that's like going to help with our heart health, with our metabolic health, like our blood sugar. It's going to help regulate our cholesterol levels and our glucose. It's going to help with healthy digestion and regularity, prevents a whole number of diseases or lowers risk for them, including cancers, and helps us manage our hunger by helping us feel fuller longer. Protein, for all of you who are exercising, it's really key to building and repairing muscles, which also then in turn supports our metabolism, and it helps manage hunger. Antioxidants are those structures that help neutralize free radicals and prevent our cells from oxidative damage, which we need for a proper immune system and to lower inflammation. And so those are our vitamins A, C, and E, as well as zinc. And then we need calcium for strong bones. We need B12 and iron for oxygen transport. We need potassium to regulate our blood pressure. We need omega-3 fats. So when we're eating a balanced diet, basically, we can ensure that we're getting all these other key nutrients that are essential for us to not just function, but really optimize our health and thrive. Okay, so what does it look like to actually build a balanced meal? What components do we want to include? So I would say that a balanced approach to nutrition starts on your plate. You can take this template that I'm going to share with you, this balanced plate approach, and really apply it in any setting and whatever your dietary preferences are. So if you do decide you want to follow a plant-based diet, or you do decide, you need to eliminate gluten, you can still build balanced meals using this template. And it can be individualized based on your unique needs and goals, right? So the proportions and the portion sizes of each component are going to totally vary because each of us is individual as far as what we need. But the bottom line is when we're talking about balance and that being sustainable, that's what this template will kind of free you to do is navigate food forever. So here are the building blocks of a balanced meal. We need veggies, we need carbs, we need fat, we need protein. And I added some modifiers here to kind of help guide you in the direction of more nutritious, filling these buckets with more nutritious versions of the foods. So veggies are going to add volume to your meals. They're going to add that dietary fiber. They're going to be your vitamins and minerals, your antioxidants. Your carbs, particularly your complex carbs, are going to be your energy source, so that fuel for your brain and your muscles, and also give you that dietary fiber if you're choosing the whole grain versions. The healthy fat, and I say healthy fat is going to be your unsaturated plant-based fat for the most part compared to your saturated. That's going to help us with satiety, so we're going to feel more satisfied after our meals. It's going to help us with our hormone levels. It's going to help us absorb nutrients, especially our fat-soluble vitamins, A, D, E, and K, and it's going to give flavor to our foods. So we do want to enjoy our meals because we want this, however we're eating, we want it to be something that we can really do forever, which means pleasure is a principle, not to be disregarded. And then finally, our protein. So that's going to help us stay satisfied, manage our hunger, and provide the building blocks for our muscles. So what foods kind of fill in each of these buckets? This is where, this is a broad template, and then you fill it in the way that works for you, right? Truly cannot overstate the benefits of vegetables for our health. The more the better, and the more variety of colors the better. So we say eat the rainbow. You want to get some leafy greens. You want to get your cruciferous vegetables. You want to get your red and orange pigmented produce. You want to get maybe your spring veggies. And eating in season is always a great way to get more nutrition and more flavor. And then really all the vegetables on this list, probably there's tons more that I forgot, but the more veggies, the better. And you really want to focus on incorporating them into all your meals. Then we want to have our carbohydrates. Again, if we go with our whole grain versions or starchy vegetables, we're going to get more nutritional bang for our buck. And then fruit is also here on the list of a food source of carbohydrates. So fruit is excellent. We're getting lots of vitamins and minerals, and we're getting good energy providing carbs. So you can see from this list that there's lots of options. Whole grains, wraps in pita and bread, pasta, our potatoes and our corn, our beans, our oats, our cereal, lots of good food sources of carbs to incorporate. We want to have our fat, and these are more of our healthy fats. So to help manage our cholesterol levels, our nuts, our nut butters, our seeds, avocado, olives, olive oil, and then our fatty fish, that's not obviously a plant-based source of fat, but it is a healthy source of fat. It's actually a type of fat called omega-3s, which are very anti-inflammatory and heart healthy. And then I threw dairy on this list. So our full-fat dairy and our cheese does give us fat, but since it's also giving us some other nutritional benefits like calcium and protein, I think it's a good one to include. And then our protein food. So this could come from animal-based protein sources or plant-based protein sources, but we do really want to focus on getting in enough high-quality protein, really all of our meals and snacks. So we can do some red meat, some poultry, fish and seafood, eggs, dairy, beans and lentils, soy, and then our nuts and our seeds. And there's, of course, some overlap between which foods give us which nutrient, but the goal is to have that balance. All right, so before we go into some ideas for how to actually take these food lists and this template and actually turn it into meals, does anyone have any questions so far? And I can't see you, so you'll have to unmute yourself and chime in.
I'm looking forward to proportions.
So, you know, that's actually the proportions. We're not really going to be able to cover that in terms of in a group setting like this, because like I mentioned, that template is going to help with that balance, but everybody's portion sizes are going to be very different depending on your individual needs and your goals. So, you know, somebody who's in a larger body or who's doing a lot of exercise might have a lot higher level needs for, you know, protein and carbs and fat versus maybe someone who's in a smaller body or who's not exercising a lot or who's trying to lose weight. So that's actually more of like an individual kind of guidelines.
Got it. Does it apply also to like ratios? Sorry, I hear an echo, so I hear myself too. I'm asking because, you know, sometimes I get in these habits where I eat like, I don't know, so many pistachios, right? Like half a bag. And it's like, so I'm talking about proportions like that. And then I realize, wow, that was just 3 meals worth of intake, you know? And I'm thinking, it's so healthy. I can, so I meant kind of like good habits around those things, because even with good foods, they have, like, there's a level of awareness.
That's absolutely right. Yeah. So that's where the idea of balance comes back in, really. Like some of something that's good for us, more is not necessarily better. You know, I would say with the exception of vegetables, where I, you know, I've even put on that slide, the more the better. Really, like it's ideally when it comes to health, we want a balance of things. So maybe we want a handful of pistachios with a piece of fruit rather than 5 handfuls of pistachios, right? Maybe we want a piece of chicken with a cup of rice and a cup of vegetables versus like 5 pieces of chicken or 5 cups of rice. Really, that's what I mean by balance, actually. So you kind of hit the nail on the head in that, you know, you can overdo really anything, and that then you are no longer in balance. So that's, glad you brought that up, and a lot of people experience that with nuts. Yeah. But you, it sounds like you have more insight than you even give yourself credit for, you know, to recognize that eating half a bag of pistachios, like you look, you know, maybe read the label and kind of see, not that the serving size is necessarily what you have to eat, but it can be a guide as far as, you know, what is typical of this food? What is one, you know, per portion or one serving supposed to look like? And then you can modify it based on your needs and goals, but at least it gives you a starting point.
Yeah. And I don't want to derail this conversation, but I wanted to share with so many Cox employees here. For me, what brought insight was doing the Naturally Slim program through Cox. And if you guys want to look at that up in SharePoint, that was really helpful for me. It's all about these good practices.
I'm not that familiar with that program, but if it is focused on healthy habits and balance, then I'm sure I would support those principles. So let's dive into this next section here. And I really just wanted to share some ideas for balanced meals, or what I'm calling here balanced meals hacks for people who are really busy, because a lot of times we think about healthy eating being like really time consuming or complicated. And it doesn't have to necessarily be that way. So I just kind of picked, and there's more examples as we go through the presentation, but I kind of picked one example from each of our main meals to kind of share with you of an idea for a meal that would be balanced as far as like, you know, having protein, fats, and carbs, but also not be like something that you have to spend hours in the kitchen getting ready. So overnight oats are one of my favorite breakfast hacks. I don't know if anyone here has tried them, probably, because they're, you know, pretty popular. The reason I like them so much is that, one, it's balanced, so you're getting all the nutrients you need, as opposed to just eating oatmeal, which is only carbs. But also, it really lends itself to prepping ahead and then customizing. And you can either make it in individual portions or you can make it in a big portion to feed your whole family. So this is the recipe for one. You just take your mason jar, or you take your Tupperware, you add your oats, half a cup of oats, half a cup of milk or whatever liquid you want, half a cup of Greek yogurt, and you can find plant-based yogurts now too, if that's your jam, but make sure it has protein. Not all of them do. Then you're going to add some chia seeds and a sweetener of choice, could be maple syrup or honey, and basically that's all you do. There's no cooking. Throw it in the fridge overnight or 2 hours later, and then you've got a fully balanced, ready-to-go breakfast in the morning. I like to make like 4 or 5 of these on a Sunday to eat throughout the week, or make multiply that recipe by 4 or 5 and, feed your whole family that way. A lunch hack that I wanted to share would be building a snack plate, or sometimes we call this like a bento box. So, you don't have to have a meal that looks like, a traditional meal for it to still be balanced, right? As long as you're getting a food from each category, you're getting what you need, right? And so this could be snack foods. This could be finger foods. But yeah, you pick a protein, you pick a carb, you pick a veggie, you pick a healthy fat, and throw it on a plate. And, it could just be really easy when you're busy to eat this way. It's also very kid friendly. So, some protein ideas would be your deli meat, your hard-boiled eggs, your string cheese, or rotisserie chicken. Your carb could be maybe some whole grain crackers, popcorn, cereal, or fruit. Your veggies, any kind of raw veggie works. I particularly like baby carrots because there's no prep, but cucumber slices or bell peppers are great too. And then some kind of healthy fat, right? Like your nuts, your olives, your guac or hummus to dip your veggies in, maybe some peanut butter. But again, you've gotten all 4 components of a balanced meal without actually having to, cook or put a meal together. So that's a good hack. And then a dinner hack, again, you're probably familiar with this because it's all over the internet, but the one sheet pan meal concept is the easiest way, in my opinion, to have all the components of a balanced meal with very minimum cleanup and a lot of flavor. So it's also fully customizable. So you put your protein source, your vegetable, and then maybe a potato, whatever kind of potato you like. Prep everything so it's around the same size, so it'll kind of cook all at the same time. Season with any kind of herbs or spices or marinades or olive oil for your fat, and then roast it in the oven until the veggies are nice and crispy and the meat or the chicken is a safe internal temperature, and you've got all the components of a balanced meal in just one sheet pan. And this would either feed your whole family, or it could be something that you could split up and eat multiple times throughout the week, depending on what your situation is like at home. And then some snack hacks here. Actually, this is the question about the pistachios is a really good segue into my favorite snack hack, which is investing in pre-portioned foods, or portion them yourself. So how much easier would it be to stick to 1 serving of nuts if you're buying it already pre-portioned in a little snack pack, right? Or when you get home from the grocery store, taking out little mini bags of Ziplocs and portioning out a handful of pistachios or whatever the nut is that you want to eat. Then when it's time for a snack, maybe it's 3 o'clock, you're trying to, manage hunger between lunch and dinner, grab a little snack pack or your little Ziploc of your nuts, and that's your serving, right? You've got that built-in portion control. So anything you can buy single serve or portion for yourself is going to be beneficial when it comes to snacks. So I always like the little hummus cups or guac cups, which are a great dip for baby carrots or any kind of vegetable, or even like a whole grain pita chips. You can, again, with your nuts, buy them single serve or portion them out. Even almond and peanut butter you can get in little pouches to easily pair with a piece of fruit for a nice balanced snack. Trail mix, another one that's very easy to overeat. So looking for the pre-portioned little pouches of that. A cheese stick or a little, those Baby Bell cheese rounds, again, is a great kind of portion controlled boost of protein, little fat, little calcium. Any of your kind of snack foods like chips or crackers or popcorn, if you get them in the mini bags, again, you're going to have that built-in portion control and just have an easy go-to snack when you're wanting something salty and crunchy. The single-serve versions of Greek yogurt and cottage cheese are going to be more convenient as snacks than, getting the tub and having to put it into a cup or a bowl. Definitely having some whole fruit on hand that doesn't need, to be chopped. You're much more likely to eat an apple or banana than maybe like cantaloupe or strawberries if you still need to like wash and slice up that fruit, right? So making sure you have some that doesn't need to be prepped. And then bars, bars can really be a convenient way to get a balance of macronutrients and some micronutrients as well. Very convenient, very portable. Look at the ingredients list, look at the food label, make sure it's giving you some nutritional bang for your buck. Make sure it's got some protein, particularly if it's going to be a post-workout snack. Make sure it's got some fiber to keep you satisfied. Make sure it doesn't have a ton of added sugar, and look at the calories. Make sure it fits into what your needs or goals are for the day and isn't, if it's supposed to be a snack, you don't want it to be maybe as many calories as a full meal. If it's a meal replacement, maybe you do. And then finally, relying on convenience. So really, again, going back to this idea that we all are so busy, there is no shame and really no reason not to save time and save energy by incorporating or even relying heavily on some convenience items. So I'll get to this a little bit later, but prepared meal delivery services can be a great option. Meal kits can be a great option. Frozen meals in a pinch. You look for those frozen meals that you can identify all those 4 components of a balanced meal we talked about, right? A carb, a protein, a vegetable, and a fat, and then substitute what's missing. So, if it's a pasta dish that's a frozen meal, maybe it doesn't have enough protein, so you're going to want to add, some leftover chicken, or have a, yogurt on this side. Maybe it's a frozen meal that's just meat and vegetables. Well, then maybe you want to, nuke up some minute rice or have like a piece of bread on this side. And then read the food labels and the ingredients list. A lot of times frozen meals can be high in sodium or just like a lot of things that you don't initially want in your meal. But with that in mind, there is a negative connotation around processed foods. And to be sure, a lot of processed foods are nutrient poor. They're just kind of giving us empty calories, not a lot of nutritional bang for our buck. But others are actually very convenient, nutrient-dense options that perfectly work for those of us with busy lifestyles. So, don't just have a blanket around processed foods being bad. Look at, what they might be offering you. Frozen veggies and fruit are flash frozen right after they're picked, so they can be just as nutritious, often more than fresh versions. Canned beans, if you shop in the perimeter of the supermarket, you're missing the canned beans that are in the inside, and they are one of the most nutritious foods you can eat. And they're very cost effective. They have a very long shelf life. We talked about bars, but bars that are made from grains, nuts, and dried fruit are really convenient nutrition on the go, even though, yes, that's a processed food. Instant oatmeal and pre-cooked whole grains, you're still getting those energizing carbs, that heart healthy fiber. It's just faster. So no shame in some of these quicker, convenient items. Hope that kind of gives you a little bit of like breath of fresh air of like, it doesn't have to be this all or nothing. You're still getting a lot of nutrition with these convenient options. So the next section is sort of building on that topic a little bit, but before we dive in, opening up again to questions or thoughts about anything that we just went through.
Alyssa, can you say a little bit more about which brands of snack bars you think are best, or which brands we should steer clear of?
Okay, sure. That's a great question. So, it's less than brands. I really look at the nutrition and how that bar is fitting into your day. So, first of all, I always want to see at least 12 grams of protein on there. If it's less than that, it's not going to really keep you satisfied. And especially if it's post-workout, maybe you could go all the way up to like 20 grams of protein. Added sugars, that it's a little confusing because it really is, it's a little hard to distinguish sometimes between like sugar that's just like added versus if it's dried sugars coming from dried fruit, is that still added or is that natural? But yeah, I mean, if you see a bar that has maybe like 15 or 20 grams of added sugar, that could be a little bit of a red flag. Definitely looking for that fiber content. So I think for a clean ingredients list, if you're someone who just wants like 5 ingredients in your bar, RX does a great job with that. It's just like the egg whites, the nuts, the fruit. Lara does a great job with clean ingredients labels too, but you have to be careful to make sure it really has protein, because they have a protein line, but some of them are just a bit higher in carbs. And kind of depends. Like, I'm a big fan personally of the Quest products because I think they taste really good, but other people are very sensitive to all the sugar alcohols in them. So that's tricky. Cliff, which also makes Luna, is a really well-regarded brand, and Orgain is another one. But it really, if you're looking for protein, you can go with one. You can go with pure protein. Like, there's so many out there. It kind of depends on how you're using it, how it's fitting into your day, and what your priorities are. Versus, like, you know, how much protein versus a clean ingredients list. Sometimes you have to compromise between those two. RX kind of is a good one that kind of straddles both.
Great, thank you.
Kind is another good brand too, and they make a protein line now also. Okay. I always tell people to try a bunch of different bars. Like, before you buy a whole box of them, go to the aisle where you can buy them freestanding and try a bunch of different ones, you know, and then if you find one you love, then you can save the money and buy it in bulk.
I have a question. I'm not sure if it will be discussed yet, but I wondered your thoughts on intermittent fasting.
So that is going to take us down a rabbit hole for sure. And one, because it refers to several different timing protocols, right? It could be time restricted feeding. It could be alternate day fasting. It means a lot of different things. It depends what your goals are in using it. I think, keeping in mind the topic of balance and sustainability for today's presentation, if you decide to do intermittent fasting, you want to really make sure that whatever window you're setting yourself up for makes sense for your lifestyle and really is sustainable. And again, it fits with the kind of life you want to lead. If it's preventing you from having breakfast with your family or like refueling after you go to the gym, like, that timing protocol doesn't make sense for you and isn't sustainable. A lot of people do intermittent fasting with the goal of weight loss, and there is some evidence that it can help with that. But the way it helps is by restricting calories. That's how all weight loss is achieved. So if you're limiting the amount of hours you eat in the day, you may also be limiting the amount of calories you consume. So not to say it doesn't work for weight loss, but that's why it works. So let's circle back to that next week, because next week is actually, we'll be going through 10 different popular diets, and one of them is going to be intermittent fasting. So we will get into that in more detail.
Perfect. Thank you.
I know it's a hot topic right now. Okay. So let's get into the next section here. And honestly, this is just a little bit of an extension of what we've been talking about all along, which is that healthy eating doesn't have to be this like all or nothing, black or white thing. So a lot of times we think about meal prep and we're like, okay, it means I'm going to spend all day in the kitchen. I have to cook everything from scratch. I have to have my fridge filled with like layers of matching Tupperware. Like, you might see that on social media. And that keeps you from even like starting to meal prep at all. And just throwing in the towel and, you know, grabbing takeout, when really, like, doing a little bit of prep and planning can be very beneficial, because it can make the healthy choice the easy choice. And that's what this is all about, is making it easier and simple to grab something healthy when we're busy, right? And so instead of thinking that you need to go all in with meal prep and cook everything from scratch, instead focus on either batch cooking, so cooking in bulk, or purchasing several different versatile staple ingredients that you can then use in various ways throughout the week. And the cool thing about this approach too is that you aren't necessarily eating the exact same meal every day, which you would be, you know, if you created those perfect looking Tupperwares, right? By the fourth day, you really don't want that grilled chicken, broccoli, and sweet potato, because you've had it, you know, every day. So variety is key. And I just have some ideas here of like a common food that you can either bulk cook or purchase, and then some ideas for how to use it. So with a chicken, we know this is a great protein source. Either roast it or put it in the crock pot, or my personal favorite hack is buying the pre-cooked rotisserie chicken, taking the skin off, because that's where all the saturated fat is. And then you can use all that chicken, nice meat, in a variety of ways. So for one meal, maybe you have it with some roasted potatoes and broccoli, or really like any kind of vegetable. You can throw it on top of a leafy green salad, and then complete the meal with some beans or some kind of whole grain, because remember, a balanced meal, we want to have the protein, the carbs, the vegetable, and the fat. You can make fajitas with it. So just add some, Mexican seasoning, saute onions and peppers, and then wrap your chicken and your veggies in a tortilla. Or you can make like a chicken salad. So some mayo or Greek yogurt, vinegar or mustard, and then your chopped celery, onions, and apples. Use that chicken salad in a pita, put it on crackers, use it on top of the salad. But from that, just investing in one chicken or roasting one chicken, you've got a variety of different meals throughout the week. Ground turkey or beef, again, this is a good thing to buy in bulk, and then use that meat in a variety of different ways. So a stuffed bell pepper. I don't know if anyone's ever made these, but they're really easy to do. You can use your cooked grain here, like your barley or farro, add a little mozzarella cheese, and then roast in the oven. And you've got, again, all your components of the balanced meal: the vegetable, the protein, the carb, and the fat. Your turkey tacos, so you make that, or this could be a beef taco too, but saute your meat with taco seasoning, add it to your tortillas or your taco shells, lettuce, tomato, peppers, and onions for your veggie, and then a little bit of cheese or guac for your fat. You've got a nice balanced meal there. You can make meatballs, like to add peppers. Anytime you get more veggies in, the better. So add some peppers, add some carrots, add some onions, bake your meatballs, and then you can have that with some whole wheat spaghetti or spaghetti squash or zucchini noodles. Add a little bit of tomato sauce, Parmesan cheese, or maybe some pesto. And then if you want more volume, you want more nutrition, you can always add more veggies. But that's a great balanced meal right there. And then, of course, burgers. So forming your meat into patties and grill them. You can do a whole grain bun as your carb, or you can lettuce wrap it and then have like corn on the cob as your carb. So many different ways to use that ground beef or turkey. And always for heart health, try to look for like a leaner cut. If you can find like a 97.3, that's always a good one to go with. Canned tuna. If you're a fan of canned tuna, stock up. On the canned or the little pouch tuna, so many different ways you can use this. Obviously, doesn't need to be refrigerated. You're getting a lot of protein, and you're getting those anti-inflammatory omega-3 fats. You can throw it on top of a salad. You can make a tuna sandwich or a wrap. You can top some whole grain crackers with tuna, and then you have a perfect carb protein snack combo. The light tuna is going to be the lowest with your mercury. And I would usually recommend getting it canned in water versus oil, so that because there's already those omega-3 fats in the tuna, and if you're making a tuna salad, you're usually adding some kind of mayo or avocado anyway. And look for, if you're okay with the canned, look for the salmon or like other kinds of fish that you can get this way too. And again, it's so convenient. Hard-boiled eggs, again, a really easy protein source that with a lot of versatile uses. Easy to batch cook either on the stovetop or in your Instant Pot if you have one, or even purchase the pre-boiled versions. I've seen those, and again, saving time, there's no shame. So a grab-and-go breakfast, pair your egg, which is your protein, with maybe instant oatmeal or a grain-based granola bar, and then you've got a good balanced breakfast on the go. Especially this would be helpful if you're like, you back into the office and kind of getting in your car and you need to start your day and need something you can eat in the car, or when you get to your desk. You can top a salad with hard-boiled eggs, and you can also do other sources of protein like deli meat, or you can really just rely on the egg as your protein source. Pairing eggs with fruit is a really good balanced snack that'll really help curb hunger because of the protein in the egg and then the fiber in the fruit. And then post-workout, if you guys need a quick protein boost after your workout, you don't want to do a powder or a shake, know that each hard-boiled egg is 6 grams. So 2 or 3 would be great after a workout. So I talked about beans already being like really a nutritional powerhouse and just super inexpensive, shelf stable, so versatile. They just have all the nutrition you could ever want. Lots of fiber, lots of protein, and some key minerals too. If you want to buy them dry, you can make them in your Instant Pot or on the stove, or honestly, the canned versions. I'm always doing the canned versions. Rinse them off, get rid of some of the added sodium, and then you can either top a salad, you can make a chili, you can do Mexican eggs. Or one of my favorite things, and I know Amy likes to do this too, is roast the chickpeas with a little olive oil in the oven, and they get really crunchy. You can change up the seasoning, so depending if you have like a savory or sweet tooth, but a really awesome, just like crunchy snack. And again, that combo of fiber and protein is really satisfying. Leafy greens. So we talked about vegetables kind of being the foundation of a healthy, balanced diet. So, but we don't always want to cook vegetables. So every time I would say you do a grocery haul, make sure you're getting a couple different kinds of leafy greens, spinach, arugula, kale, collards, and then you can use them as a base for a salad. You can toss them in a smoothie. You can saute them with oil and garlic and eat them, as a side dish. Or you could, try to make like kale chips or something if you have an air fryer. There's a lot of fat-soluble vitamins in greens. So if you pair your greens with a fat source, like oil or nuts or avocado, you'll absorb those vitamins better. And because dark leafy greens are a good source of plant-based iron, if you pair it with a vitamin C, like a citrus fruit, you're going to absorb that iron better. So that would be a good thing to have, maybe like some orange, like lemon juice or some oranges or some strawberries along with your dark leafy greens. Whole grains. So this is one of my favorite things to recommend people cook in bulk. You just get whatever grain it is that you like. The world is your oyster. Brown and wild rice, quinoa, farro, barley, bulgur. There's so many. Many are naturally gluten-free. 2-to-1 ratio with your water or your stock or your broth if you're looking for a little bit more flavor. Batch cook in bulk on the stovetop or in your Instant Pot. And then you can use those grains all throughout the week in lots of different ways, and you can freeze them. So, freeze them pre-cooked, or freeze them once they're cooked. The other thing here, and I mentioned this already, is the pre-cooked grains, which you can get really at all grocery stores now, and then you only need to nuke them in the microwave. So if time is the thing you want more of, definitely cool to buy them pre-cooked, and then you can have you could do your grain with your stir fry, plus your protein and your veggies. You can add it to a salad. You can make a soup, or build like a bowl, right? So your grain, your bean, your cooked veggies. You can do lots of different bowls, and a lot of whole grains have a nice nutty flavor, so they really are delicious and nutritious components of a balanced meal. And we will talk about, the low carb diets next week, but know that carbs really are the preferred fuel for our muscles and our brains. And when we're choosing whole grains, we are getting more fiber and we're getting more micronutrients as well. Plain Greek yogurt, another thing I recommend people stock up on because it's a great protein source. It's a great calcium source. It's a great source of probiotics, which is important for our gut health. And if we buy the plain version, it's super versatile. For breakfast or for a snack, you can do a parfait with fresh or frozen berries, and then for your carbs, and then some nuts and seeds for your fat. We talked about overnight oats, but it's an essential component of that. You can use it as the protein source in a smoothie instead of protein powder. And really any recipe that calls for either sour cream or mayo, you can swap in Greek yogurt and get a lot more nutritional bang for your buck. So I love to use it to make dips, to make like chicken salad, to make creamy dressings like ranch, adding it on top of a baked potato or a taco, right? So if you get the plain version, you can use it in all these different ways, and you can sweeten it with fruit if you want, right? You don't need to worry about the added sugar that's in some of the other the fruit flavored versions. Mostly it's just more versatile. And Greek yogurt will come in a low fat, a fat free, a full fat, depending on your needs, your goals, how you're using it. Really any of those versions could work. Nut butters, these are really convenient shelf-stable sources of protein and fat, and a little bit of fiber, so kind of like a good rounded source of nutrition and lots of energy, right? They're very energy dense, and there's lots of ways we can use nut butters. So we can spread them on banana or apples for a snack, again, to give us a lot of energy. Add a little dollop to your oatmeal or your Greek yogurt to help it give it more staying power. You can, of course, always make a PB&J sandwich. And one thing to try if you haven't is to use mashed berries instead of jelly, so that you're getting more fiber and less sugar. You can combine your nut butter with oats and either honey or maple syrup and dried fruit to make your own kind of energy bites or energy bars. There's lots of recipes for that available out there. Or make your ants on the log with celery sticks and some raisins. So when it comes to nut butters, if you're going to eat a lot of it, not just like once or twice a week, look for the nut butter that has that oil separation, because that's like nuts is their fat is liquid at room temperature. So if it should have that oil separation, that's natural. If it doesn't, if it's homogenized, something has been added to make that happen. So it's either going to be like a hydrogenated oil, or it's going to be a saturated fat like palm oil, which in small quantities is not that big a deal. But if you're someone who's eating nut butter regularly, you don't want to consume a lot of those saturated trans fat. So again, the oil separation is ideal. You want to find one that has that. And really the ingredients list should just be nuts. So it'd just be like peanuts, maybe salt, or almonds, depending on what the nut butter is. And this is, my last one. I hesitated where to put this on because some people are really not into tofu. It's an acquired taste for sure, but I do think it's important to open our minds to it because it is plant-based, so super heart healthy, and it's a great source of protein. Unlike a lot of vegetarian protein sources, it's a complete protein. So it's actually giving us all the amino acids that we need in the right proportions to build and repair muscles. It's also giving us calcium, which we need for bone health, and good fats, and lots of versatile uses, which is what this whole section is about. So we can make, instead of scrambled eggs, we can make a tofu scramble with veggies and cheese, and then enjoy it with some toast or potatoes for a complete meal. We can use it in our smoothie. So if we don't want to do the Greek yogurt, we don't want to do the protein powder, silken tofu is actually kind of awesome in a smoothie with your fruit and your greens and your liquid of choice. You could do a stir fry, right? So the cubed firm tofu, then with your veggies and your grain, or add it to a salad. A lot of people don't like it raw, so if you have gone ahead and done a stir fry, maybe save some of that tofu and throw it on your salad the next day. All right. And lots of research behind soy being a very heart-healthy source of protein that's associated with lower cancer risk and lower cholesterol levels. So I know there's some confusion about whether soy is good for us, and it is, especially in these more natural forms like the tofu. So our next section is just some tools and resources. And I know we're kind of getting to the end of our time. So, but does anyone have any questions about any of the meal prep items? Anybody inspired to maybe think about some common food in a different way now?
I'm just really hungry.
You're hungry? 3 to 4 o'clock is that witching hour, and a lot of times people tell me, "Oh, I always snack. How can I not snack at 3 to 4?" That's not the point. Actually, you probably should have a snack at 3 to 4. That's usually a kind of an important feeding opportunity between lunch and dinner, where if we don't eat, we are going to get really hungry, and then we might overeat later. So yeah, think about that balance and think about okay, maybe what can I eat right now to nourish myself and to manage my hunger? And that's, going back to that snack hack slide may be helpful. But yeah, this is a good time to eat, actually. Quite a good time to eat.
I have a food hack to share.
Sure.
I use lentils a lot with my ground beef to make my meat go further since they're cheap and healthy.
Oh, good. That's such a good hack.
Half and half. I do have a question though about the soy.
Yeah.
I thought that I had heard that it was not great for hormone levels or something like that if you have it too consistently, or maybe that was more specifically with feeding children. Is that a thing, or am I completely wrong?
No, you're not completely wrong. I mean, there definitely is there is information out there that you could find that would suggest that eating too much soy would, interfere with like estrogen levels and things like that. But what the actual research seems to show is that that's not the case. Especially if you are eating the unprocessed versions of soy like tofu and tempeh and soybeans like edamame. The issue would be that processed soy is in a lot of processed foods. So a lot of times people end up eating, or like processed soybean oil, people may end up eating a lot more of that than they realize. But the truth is like, it really does all come back to balance. So, maybe you don't want to eat soy for both meals or all 3 meals every single day. Maybe you want like 1 meal a day or a few meals a week to be soy and balance it out with other foods. So like your colleague who was talking about the pistachios earlier, something that's good, more is not necessarily better. You really do want to have that balance. But what the longitudinal research shows is like lower cancer rates and better cholesterol levels, and among populations where they have more soy naturally in their diet, like in Asian cuisines. But again, that's typically unprocessed soy.
I have a question.
Sure.
Yeah, the same like the previous one, or similar, no? I am a survivor of breast cancer, and I think I heard the soy is no kind of good for us.
Yeah.
Maybe
So that is a trickier situation. There are certain types of breast cancer. I think the estrogen receptor positive form of breast cancer, where your doctor might err on the side of caution and tell you to limit, not eliminate soy foods, but limit, because soy does have a compound in it that like mimics estrogen, and so I don't want to like contradict anything your doctor might have told you about the specific type of breast cancer that you may have had, where it might actually be important to limit the soy. Again, not eliminate it, but potentially limit it to maybe like 2 meals a week. So if your doctor's told you to do that based on the specific type of cancer you had, then yeah, I wouldn't want to contradict anything that he or she said.
well, no, actually, it wasn't the doctor. It just when I attend a support group, and then usually I have kind of conversations or meetings about this food or so, or things or topics that can help us. So I heard that part, and I usually don't think about soy like a milk, soy milk or something like that, because that. But tofu is kind of something natural, maybe not, or it's not processed.
It's a minimally processed version of soy. And soy milk is also it's very nutritious and is not heavily processed. I guess my understanding of the research is that it would be fine to have in moderation, but again, not knowing your background, not knowing your labs, not knowing how long you've been in remission, I couldn't say like 100% yes or no. So in this setting, I wouldn't feel comfortable making a recommendation for you. I would ask your doctor about it, or if you ever had a chance to work one-on-one with a dietitian, we could kind of go through your history and kind of figure out like the role of soy in your diet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Better to err on the side of caution. Like I said at the beginning, for the most part, the more variety, the better. Like you totally restricting foods or nutrients or categories of food is not advantageous or sustainable for most people, but there are always exceptions, and allergies and health conditions are those exceptions. So there's an exception for every rule. There really is, and that's one of the limitations of doing nutrition education in a group setting, is that it's not always going to be as individualized as the nutrition education you would maybe get in a one-on-one setting. All right, these are good questions. I appreciate them. Let's wrap up with some tools and resources. I have a whole other section that we will not get to, but you will have the slides as a resource. I just wanted to share some, if you are looking for a next level hack, I guess, and really don't want to spend any time shopping, thinking about, I've taught you, okay, I need a protein, a carb, a fat, and a vegetable in my meal. If that's too much to even think about, which is understandable, maybe a prepared meal service is the way to go, at least to get you through some busy periods. So there really are a lot of benefits of this, and prepared meals are designed for one person. So you've got that built-in portion control if that's something you're looking for, and you've got a lot of variety compared to if you were going to cook yourself and eat the same thing over and over again. So this is just a handful of prepared meal services that deliver either local to Atlanta or nationwide, but it's just a sampling, and most of these can be customized. So yeah, good thing to kind of try out if you're looking for convenience. Then you've also got your meal kits. So the difference here is that you still have to cook, but you don't have to spend time searching on Pinterest for recipes. You don't have to do the grocery shopping, and the ingredients come pre-portioned. So the cooking is, honestly, it's simpler. And so here are some options for that. Most of these have customizable menus. So, if there's a certain food that you don't like, or, something you're trying to go more plant-based, you can usually make that work. And then some apps, some meal planning apps and services. I just kind of did a little investigation of, there's a lot of resources out there, right? That can make things easier. Some of these are going to, help you organize your grocery list. Some of these are going to help you plan your meals for the week, plan your family's meals for the week. Some of them link up with like grocery stores, so, like emails. I know, for example, you can like select the recipes, and then it plugs the ingredients list right into like Publix online ordering system. So there's lots of options here that you can explore if you're looking for a little guidance. And then this last section, which we're really out of time, so I'm not going to go through it all, but I basically wanted to share ways that you could still create a balanced meal. So that template of like a protein, a carb, a fat, and a vegetable in any setting you find yourself in. And so, yeah, restaurant meals are really enjoyable, but they're also really convenient, like if we're trying to grab takeout. And so it doesn't have to be all or nothing, where either like I'm eating in a healthy, balanced way because I'm cooking, or I'm going out, I'm just like blowing all like thoughts around, balance. You can go in really any restaurant setting, any cuisine type, and still make a balanced choice. And so that's why I think that template is so much more helpful than, a strict or rigid diet, where you really kind of feel like you can't go to restaurants and you can't get takeout. So I just shared some examples here for different cuisine types of how to make kind of a more healthy, balanced choice. So hopefully once you have these slides to look at, they'll be helpful. Even threw in some ideas about breakfast that you could grab on the go at a coffee shop. But I do want to, and if anyone wants to stay on a little bit longer and ask questions, that's cool. I wanted to just kind of leave you all with some final reminders. Foods aren't good or bad, okay? Some are more nutritious than others, and others we consume mainly for pleasure. We know we're not eating them for the nutrition. We're eating them because they bring us joy, and that's cool, okay? We really, both kind of impetuses for choosing food are valid. So we want to let go of like any shame, any guilt around our food choices. Our food choices are not a reflection on our morality, right? They don't make us bad. You know how many times, I hear that, you probably said that you were like bad over the weekend, or you've been so good today. Like, it's not how it works. But, based on our food choices, we can powerfully impact our health, our disease risk, our mood, our energy levels, our athletic performance, and so much more. And so again, that balance is finding that balance between foods that nourish us and, positively impact our health, and foods that we're really just eating for pleasure. And, that balance is going to look a little different for everyone, but it is something to strive for. Also, we'll get into this more next week when we talk about the different diets, but we don't have to be extreme about nutrition to experience the benefits. And just for some examples, like instead of thinking like no carbs, carbs is the enemy, why don't we focus more on making most of our carbs more nutritious? So the fiber-rich versions, and pairing them with protein and fat and veggies, so we have more satiety. So it's not like, okay, never eat pasta, but it's like, okay, maybe I pair my pasta with some turkey meatballs and broccoli, and I have a balanced meal. Maybe I choose the whole grain pasta for more fiber. And then another one would be the plant-based. Like if you want to go full plant-based, by all means, but you can still reap the health benefits of eating more plants without only eating plants, right? There really is a balance to be found there. So here's my takeaway. I know we've covered a lot, and you guys asked some great questions, but what I'm hoping you walk away from today's presentation is being willing to let go of that diet mentality and that idea of food rules and instead embrace a more balanced approach, which I hope I've convinced you is maybe more flexible and ultimately more sustainable. When we eat balanced meals, ones that include carbs, protein, fat, and veggies, that's going to be the key to helping us feel energized and satisfied. And so throughout this presentation, literally every example I gave is one that is a balanced meal. So you have plenty of examples there to rely on. Remembering that no matter where you find yourself, you can build a balanced meal, even in restaurants, even when you're really busy. Instead of spending all day in the kitchen and meal prepping everything, instead kind of cook some versatile items in bulk or purchase in bulk, and then use them in multiple ways throughout the way. And, if you need help, if you need tools, if you need resources to help you with this, they are there for the taking. So please, go ahead and take advantage of those. All right. Thank you. I know we went a little over time. I appreciate you all sharing 1 hour of your busy afternoons learning about nutrition. And if anyone has any additional questions, I'm happy to stick around for a few more minutes.
Yeah, and we'll move into question time now. I think it's really important for people to realize that their diet doesn't have to be perfect. Nothing is perfect. We are not perfect. We're human. And again, to realize that we do eat for comfort. It's not just something that has to be so strict and it's just rice and chicken, and we're not all prepping for a fitness competition. So thank you so much for really explaining that to everyone. We've seen great feedbacks in the comments, but please, you guys, any questions that you still have, please share those now. I'll turn it over to anyone that has a question. Sheila, did you have a question? Maybe not.
Okay. That's 100% right, Amy. You hit the nail on the head with that takeaway. It's that idea that food is fuel, but it's also pleasure, and it's also comfort, and it's also family, and it's also culture. And so we don't want it to only be that, but we also, if we try to pretend like it's just fuel, we're kind of disregarding the human experience, right? And so we're sort of setting ourselves up for probably failure. Do we have any more questions? Am I still on? Did I just go away?
Yeah, you're still.
I'm still here. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay, so I will. I know
if you guys have any questions, sorry, Alyssa, you guys can email me, amy.bush@coxinc.com. Yep. Alyssa's about to share her contact information too, so I'll be quiet.
I was just going to say that I'm going to send out the slides. I know there's a lot of content on there, and honestly, I designed them to be usable. So yes, I will send those out, and then Amy, you can pass them along.
Yep, I'll be sending out the recording version of this, a link that will be able to be used, like I said earlier in the meeting, across the teams. I know we have issues sometimes with different divisions, so we're going to send you a URL that you can use for the recording, and that will be also included. The slides, like she stated, will be in that email as well. So I'll be sending that to anyone who was RSVP'd on here. If you want to shoot that out to a coworker of yours that may have missed it, feel free to do that as well. But yeah, thank you so much for giving us your time as well, Alyssa. And we're really excited about next week with Ditch the Diet. Same day of the week, same time. next Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time till 4. Again, really excited about this one, diving deep into that lovely word of diet. Diet culture, man, it's everywhere, especially as a female. We've always kind of attached to that word. So please make sure that you guys sign up for it. If you didn't, I have taken everyone from Cox Impact. So if you reserved on Cox Impact and said you were coming, I'm going to be moving those on Friday. So just stay tuned. If Monday you don't have a Outlook event and you've signed up via myself or Cox Impact, please shoot me an email so I can make sure that you are on that. But again, thanks so much, Alyssa.
Thank you, guys. I hope to see you all next Tuesday. And thanks, Amy, for getting this all set up.
Of course. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you next week, Alyssa.
Bye.
Bye.